Continuing our conversation about plants today, and we want to remember that a plant is a living thing or an organism. This means that the plant responds to stimuli. Today, we're going to learn about 4 ways or tropisms that explain how plants respond to 4 different stimuli. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen with you. In your notes, please write down what you see here as your new title or subheading. Plants respond to stimuli. The learning objective for today is I can, that means you, identify the stimulus and response of a plant. Please take some time to finish writing this down. Please remember that the notes will be released as soon as this live session is over, and this session is being recorded for you in the event that I go too fast for you today. Plants respond to stimuli. We want to remember that that word stimulus or stimuli, which means many, changes. So stimulus means a change in our environment. That can be a change on the outside or a change on the inside. An external stimulus is an outside change like temperature or less food being available. An inside internal change or stimulus would be hunger, thirst, sleepiness, fear. All of those are internal stimuli that will cause you as an organism to respond in different ways. So what we're going to be talking about today is plant tropisms. Please write this in your notes. What we're going to be talking about today is plant tropisms. So in our notes, we've got to know what in the world does that word tropism, what does that mean? So in our notes, let's write down that question. What is a tropism? Tropism literally means response. Tropism means response. So we're going to learn today about 4 different tropisms or 4 different ways that plants respond to stimuli. Please take some time to write these down. There is hydrotropism, gravitropism, or you may see it as geotropism, phototropism, and Thigmotropism. Please take some time to write these 4 phrases down. We'll be here for a second, so I'm not going on to the next slide. Take some time, please, to write these down. When we look at that hydrotropism, if I know what hydro means, hydro is talking about water, and we just learned that tropism means response. So hydrotropism literally means how a plant responds to water. Let me say that again. Hydrotropism means a plant's response to water. Gravitropism or geotropism is literally talking about gravity. So today we're going to learn about and draw some pictures of how a plant responds to gravity. Photo means light, So we'll also learn about how a plant responds to light. And thigmo means touch. So we'll learn about how a plant responds to touch. Please take some time to finish writing these down. And the first one we're going to talk about today is hydrotropism. You may want to have your colored pencils or crayons near you so that you're able to color some pictures today. Miss Neville is going on. So the first tropism that we're going to discuss today is hydrotropism. We want to remember that hydrotropism is a plant's response to water. Notice how Miss Neville's using that chemical abbreviation H2O, much more. That's going to be super important, especially as we begin to discuss photosynthesis, or how the plant makes its own food. Now, if we still can't remember what H2O means, we want to make sure we write water in parentheses beside it. No shame in that. And to discuss hydrotropism, we really want to make sure we understand that this is really happening. We're going to be able to see hydrotropism at the roots of the plant. That makes sense because if we remember, the job of the roots is to absorb water from underground. So hydrotropism is really seen at the roots. So in our notes, let's go ahead and create a cause and effect model. But instead of me using the words cause and effect, can someone turn on their mic and let me know what word would I use here instead of cause?
Stimuli.
Stimulus, very good. And for number 2, instead of effect?
Response.
Response, very good. Please go ahead and mute yourselves. So the stimulus would be here in our picture. If we have a plant that's growing here with its roots, we're going to have its leaf, another little leaf budding there on top. Okay, if we have our plant here and there's a lot of rain that takes place, we can label this as rain. There's going to be a surplus or extra water underground. What's important for us to understand is that the plant will respond, specifically the roots, will respond by growing deep the roots will grow deep into that water to absorb it, okay? So that word surplus means extra, surplus underground water. the plant will respond by its roots growing deep into that water. Please take some time to finish this picture. If Miss Neville goes too fast, just remember, this lesson is being recorded. So let's go ahead and keep it moving. Our next tropism we're going to talk about today is geotropism or gravitropism. And for this one, I'm going to use red or burgundy. I'm going to use some different colors here. Okay, and so when we're talking about gravi or geotropism, it's important for us to know that this is a plant response to a change in gravity. And let's look at what Miss Neville means by that. If I had, and let's draw another one. We're working with stimulus and response models today. Remember, that's our learning objective. If I had a potted plant or a plant that was in a pot and that pot turned over, the question becomes, how would that plant respond so that it could continue to survive? That is an example. This is a perfect example of geotropism or gravitropism. So in our notes, we're going to draw a potted plant. Spilling over. The soil pours out. And our plant will also fall. And in our caption here, we want to write a potted plant Guys, potted plant means a plant that's in a pot. A potted plant turns over accidentally. That plant will respond by beginning to grow upward. Yeah, that plant responds this pen today. That plant responds by beginning to grow up. Remember, it's important for us to know that plant wants to grow up so that it can find light, so we can have access to water. So it wants to be able to grow up, and it will naturally do that. Okay? That plant begins to grow up. So while the soil has spilled out, my pot is still turned over, that plant will begin to grow up. Please take some time to finish drawing and labeling this. We'll be going on at 8:35. This is geotropism, or AKA gravitropism. Take another minute to finish up. Okay. Our next tropism that we'll talk about today is phototropism. And for this lesson, and for this one, after we write down, I'm going to do this one in orange. I hope you'll be able to see it. And remember, photo, that root, photo means light. So phototropism then would mean a plant's response to light And for this example, I want you to go ahead and draw the stimulus and response chart. But I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I want you to watch, and I'm going to put a link to a YouTube 30-second video in your chat. And I want you to click on that link and I want you to see what phototropism looks like. So we're going to create our stimulus and response chart. We're going to leave it blank. Give you a second to finish creating that. And then I'm going to show you a 30-second video on YouTube. You'll be able to click the link because it won't show really well on Teams. And I want you to see a perfect example of phototropism, how a plant responds to light. Let's do that real quickly. Okay, so if you would please check your chat. And click on the YouTube link that Ms. Neville has just released to you. The video is about 38 seconds long. I want you to watch that, and then we're going to talk about what you see there, what you saw. Make sure your computer is muted, okay? You'll be able to click on that YouTube link and watch a plant respond to light. Joshua, it's not necessary for you to write in the chat. Please, no one else write in the chat. So go ahead and pause your video wherever you are. Hopefully you finished it already. But if not, that's okay. We're going to talk about what some of you saw in your video. And I'm going to call on some non-volunteers. Okay. So let's have Naomi. Did you get to watch the video, Naomi?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell us what you saw?
Well, the plant grew larger and larger for how long it's been exposed to light.
Yeah. Did you notice anything, Naomi, about the direction of how that plant grew?
It kept changing.
Yeah, we should have noticed that that plant grew in the direction of where the light was coming from. So, in our stimulus and response model that you should be able to see now, we're going to draw, and I'm going to use my yellow. It may be hard for you to see there. There it is. We're going to draw some light coming from the western part of the picture. And in our caption, I'll use navy blue here. In our caption, we're going to write light shown from the west. So it's important for us to understand that in that video you saw over a couple of days, that plant will begin to grow towards, yes, bend towards that light. That plant bends in the direction of that light. This is phototropism, a plant responding to light. It grows in the direction of that light. Please take some time to finish this picture. And the last one we're going to talk about today is thigmotropism. Thigmotropism. Remember, if you'll remember from the beginning of our notes, thigmotropism is a plant's response to touch. So for our last stimulus response model today, we'll notice that, and this is probably the most unique one, I think. Have you ever seen a plant's vines grow in and out of a gate? What if I were to tell you it's because that plant is trying to get away from that gate? Okay, it's trying to move away from it. A plant's response to touch, some plants are able to move away from touch because it thinks that that touch is dangerous. And so the last video that I'm going to be able to show you today, and I'm going to actually put that in Schoology because we're going to run out of live session time, is we need to make sure we understand in stimulus 1, we won't get to draw a picture here. A plant's leaves are open. When touched, the plant's leaves close in response to that touch. And I'll send you that video in a second once we end our live session. But you'll literally be able to see how not all plants show a response to touch like the plant you're going to watch in a second. But you're going to be able to see that just like with a Venus flytrap, it responds to the touch. It'll close up. Yes, That's thigmotropism, a plant's response to touch. Now, let's talk about what your assignment will be for today. Let's talk about what your assignment will be for today. You're going to have an assignment, and I think it's about 7 questions where you'll be able to use your notes. Some of the questions are review. Others of the questions are not review. So it's going to be important for you to use the new notes that we took today, okay? I'm going to share my screen with you so that you can see what you're going to be working on. When we go to our science class, we're going to go in our hot pink weeks 8 and 9, the Biology of Plants folder. And in that folder, you're going to see an assignment that says Introduction to Plants Vascular, Checking for Understanding. When you work on this, some of the questions will be multiple choice. This will overall be teacher graded. So it's going to be important that you wait for Ms. Neville to answer your questions before you start working on your second attempt. This is going to also be due on Thursday. So if for some reason you weren't able to attend our live session today, hopefully you watched the recorded session, taken some really good notes, and you're using those notes in your first and second attempts and looking at Ms. Neville's feedback, okay? Please save all of your questions for an email to me. I look forward to seeing everyone